join the Poodle Pack. It's time to get creative and make you laugh. Make your own art today. Pink Poodle Crafts is the way.
What a good boy. Hello, crafty family. How are you guys doing? It's been a while since I've made a video, and I know it's been like a month since I've made the second part to our journal. Don't mind my nails, they're nasty from doing mixed media mashup. I got black paint all under my nails. It's disgusting. So pay no mind to that. But yeah, it's been a month since we did the second part of our basic journal kind of how-to DIY such and such. And yeah, I've been really slacking on videos. I've done live streams, just not videos, because videos take a bit longer to do and edit and put together. And yeah, my butt has been busy. I've had a busy butt. However, we are now doing part 3, and at the end of this video, I will do the drawing for the giveaway of this journal, and you will also have a chance to win something else as well in the next video. So make sure you stay tuned, and yeah, let's begin. So in the last video, to recap, or in the first 2 videos, we started by getting our pages together and learning how to fold and make a signature, and how to kind of make your edges and they don't have to be perfect by any means. You don't even have to go through the trouble like I did of cutting them perfectly even if you don't want them to be. They don't have to be. And I don't know if I mentioned that in the first video. So, you know, every time you make a signature, it does not have to be perfectly flush. Like this one isn't even perfectly flush either. It's not going to be, but it's, you know, it's fine for this. We're just making a 1 signature journal. There are some people who went ahead and started, you know, they did their homework and then they realized how easy it was to stitch a journal together and more or less string a journal, because you're not really stitching. Stitching would require you to do more than just 3 holes. I mean, really, if you're going to try to call it anything other than what it is, but binding a journal does not take skill at all. And anybody that did the homework, which are the people that I have in this can right here to pick winners, a winner for this one, found out. They all said the same thing when they did their homework. And I asked them, did you think it was going to be that easy? And they said, no, it was much easier than I thought it was going to be. So it's very easy to do. So those who are nervous about it, I promise you it is not hard to do. If you go back to video 2, the part 2, which I'll link in the description, I'll link parts 1 and 2. But in part 2, I gave homework to do. And the people that did the homework, I put in the drawing to win this journal. However, I would still like anybody that hasn't made a journal yet, I invite you to please do the homework for your own good. Because the homework was really easy. It was just taking 3 pieces of scrap paper, just anything, copy paper, it didn't matter. It could be old bills that you have lying around that you're going to throw away, and do some practice binding to get the stitch down on doing a 3-hole stitch, because it's so easy. It's so ridiculously easy that it doesn't make sense to me why people get all frazzled about it. You know, about putting the stitching in for the binding of the journal, because it's so freaking easy. And people are just afraid to even try it, but it's so easy. You have to take my word for it. You just have to take my word for it, because I'm telling you, it's the easiest thing ever. So now we are on to the part where we are going to bind our journal. Now, I said in the first part that you can make the cover out of anything, and initially I had a piece of vinyl that I was going to use as my cover. Well, I've decided to change my mind, because I know that most people don't have a piece of vinyl laying around and that they are going to use paper. So what I decided to do was, since I kind of made my journal with all like browns and like neutral colors, which could be used for like, it could be used for a steampunk journal. It could be used for a vintage journal. You know, any kind you want really, because it's, you know, it's very neutral. So what I decided to do was take a piece of cardstock. Now, this journal has this piece on the outside, which is a piece of thick scrapbook paper. That could be a perfectly fine cover. You don't need to do nothing else. You could just fold a piece of scrapbook paper to fit, and that really could be fine. But what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to fold a piece of black cardstock in half, and I'm going to turn this into my cover. I'm going to get my bone folder, and I'm going to fold it, and then I'm going to cut this to the size I need. Now, in order to cut this into the size I need, I folded it in half first, so that all I have to do now is mark it. And in order to mark it, I'm going to lay my signature of folded papers onto this folded piece of cardstock, and I'm going to leave like a 1/16 or an 1/8 of an inch at the top, at the bottom, and then for the rest of it, I'm going to mark it very easily. If I could find a pencil. Actually, let me use a white pen. I think this will work so that it shows up a little better for you. Let's see, okay, because I'm going to cut that off anyway. All right, so you're going to just mark like an 1/8 of an inch out here. You're just going to eyeball it. Just mark it so that you're going to have a little bit of a lip hanging over, so you don't want to mark it directly against your paper. You want it to just come out, and you just have to eyeball it just a little bit. And then all you have to do is mark it the same at the top. You can even make it a little bit, you make this one on the side, you can make it a little bit bigger, a little bit further out than the one here, because you're just going to give a very little lip at the top and bottom. And in fact, I could probably move this down a little and actually go in a little bit more. So there's my marks. One here, one here. The bottom has already been squared up. So now all you gotta do is cut it on your cutter. Or if you don't have a cutter, use a ruler and an X-Acto knife. So I'm gonna cut it here. And I just cut off that white line. And then I'm gonna cut it here at the other mark. And so there we go. Now, hopefully when I put this in, see? Now it's got barely a lip here and barely a lip here, just barely, and barely a lip here. I probably could have cut the cover even a little bigger, but actually that's perfectly fine. Can you guys see the lip? It might be easier if I do it like this and show you the lip. See the little lip that's on there? At the front, this is the most important place to have a lip. Here you only need like a very tiny one, but in here you want to leave just a little bit more. So that's perfect. So now you can leave yours, you know, depending on what kind of paper you use. If you use pattern paper, you don't have to do the next step. But if you, if your pattern paper is anything like mine, and this one or this one I was going to use, I didn't know which, probably this one I like a little better. My voice is really shot, and it's a struggle right now for me to talk, and it's so annoying. I can't take it. So I apologize if I sound like a frog. I can't help it. I have days like this where my voice just is not working, and it hurts to actually try to get it out. Actually, I wish today wasn't the day I was going to do this video. As it takes so much more effort to get my voice out today. But today's the only day I really have to do this week. So I'm going to suffer through it. So anyway, if you have a piece of patterned paper like this, but thick, then that's all you would need for your cover. You're done. If your pattern paper is thin like this one, obviously you're not going to use this as your cover, but you can take a piece of cardstock that's plain in a solid color. It doesn't have to be black. It could be white. It could be whatever color you want it to be. A corresponding cover to your scrapbook paper. And you can do one of two things. You can cover the whole thing completely so you can't see any of the black on the outside cover. You'll still see it on the inside. Or you can do it so that it has a little bit of a frame around it, around the piece. Or you could do it so that you cut it in two pieces and you have a piece that is framed around the front cover with a little lip going around it of the black or whatever your color is, and a piece going around the back cover. Same thing. It's kind of up to you. I think what I'm going to do is cover the whole thing except for a little lip around the outside. I'm going to leave a slight lip of black around the outside. So what I'm going to do is mark it kind of like I did just cutting that black piece. I'm going to lay my piece and put the lip on two sides of the paper. It's hard to see because, of course, I had to do this on a black craft mat. The only reason I don't like a black craft mat is because it can be very difficult sometimes to show things on. All right, so here you can see the lip a little better. I'm leaving it here and here, and then I'm just going to mark it inward, about eyeballing it, about the same. It doesn't matter because once you take this paper off and cut it and then put it back, it'll go back evenly, regardless of how you do it, because you're going to recenter it. So it doesn't really matter. So you're just going to mark in and mark in over here on the two sides that are hanging over your cardstock. You're just going to eyeball it and put a mark and put a mark, and then just cut on that mark. So, and if it's a large piece like this one, you can choose to only cut it, like eyeball it from the mark here, so you're not cutting all the way. I mean, obviously you could just cut all the way, which most people would do. But since the mark is here, actually, you know what? It doesn't matter. I'm just going to cut it so that I don't confuse anybody, because I know I will confuse somebody. So I'm just going to cut it across and get rid of that piece, because that was the one mark, and here's the other mark here. And I'm going to cut it here. And there we go. There's our piece. Okay. So now here is our piece, and we're going to recenter it and make sure it's good. If you have to cut anything further, you can do that after you recenter it. Let's see. Looks pretty good. I just might need to cut a little bit off of one side, just a hair. Just cutting a hair. That didn't even really cut it. Did it? I don't know. Might be getting a new cutter soon. Let's see if that made it any better on here. No, I didn't barely even cut it, did I? No, that's fine. It's good. It's good. So now you can choose to use glue. Here's the thing. If you're using a thin piece of pattern paper over top of a thicker piece of cardstock, you can use a glue stick, provided that it's the glue stick that's one of the strong ones. Either the Elmer's Craft Bond Extra Strength, like this one, or the Elmer's Extreme, or the Ranger glue stick works really well for this. And what you would do is I'm trying to think of how I want to do this. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? you can use the glue stick, but I'm not going to use the glue stick on the whole thing. I'm going to use tape and glue stick. I'm going to show you that. Let me find my tape. I really wish my voice wasn't like this because I sound ridiculous. And I'm sure somebody will make a comment about how horrible I sound at some point. Not by anybody that watches me regularly, though. I really can't find my tape now. There we go. I found it. It decided to run away. So, okay. So I'm going to take my tape and I'm going to go around the outside edge. You know, if you don't have tape, you would just use your glue stick, or if you must use wet glue, be careful because it will warp your page. And I'm just giving you a warning that it might look crinkly or funny, especially if it is a thin page like this one is. This is like copy paper weight. So if you are going to do anything, I would use the glue stick if you can help it to avoid, or tape, because gluing copy paper has a tendency to warp it. Now, if you're using, you can use a Mod Podge if you want, but that tends to get messy. And since if you're going to do a Mod Podge, don't leave a lip around your border, around your scrapbook paper onto your, if you're doing it on a piece of cardstock, don't bother leaving a lip because you're just going to make a mess, because the Mod Podge is going to get on that outside lip and it is going to show, most likely. So you would have to go around the whole lip with the glue and let it dry so that it didn't look funny. Hard to explain, I know. I'm doing the best I can to explain because people are going to ask me, well, what if I don't have this? What if I don't have... Look, these glue sticks are cheap. If you don't have a glue stick, go get one. They're literally like $3 at Walmart. But make sure you get the Craft Bond Extra Strength or the Extreme. They're literally $3 at Walmart. Or use the score tape, this type of double-sided tape. Those are the best ways to do it if you're using thin paper, gluing it onto thicker paper. If you have a piece of scrapbook paper that's already thick, you don't have to do this. If it's patterned and it's already thick, you don't even have to do this if you have a piece of cardstock, because cardstock is enough to use as a cover. It can be a plain cover and then you could decorate it later. So, okay, I got tape on here. So what I'm going to do is a little trick to put this on evenly. I'm going to, you know what, how am I going to do this? I'm trying to think without trying to make a mess of this. I think what I'm going to do is, I haven't done anything. I have my ways of doing things, but for the sake of the people watching, I'm like wanting to do it the easiest way for you guys that have never done it before. So here, this black mat is black. I wish it was all white, honestly. I wish they would have given an option of whether you wanted it all white or black. That would have been the best way to deal with this thing, but they did not. Okay, so once you put your tape on, before you even take the backing off of the tape, get it perfectly even where you want it to be. And then hold this down as firmly as you can. Peel back the layer with the tape. And by holding this down really tight and using your one hand, I know this is like a circus act here. Peel back your tape part way, fold it. Like, see how I'm peeling it and then folding it? Peel it and fold it. And peel it. I know this is a pain in the butt, but you can do it. Just hold your paper down real tight. Peel it and fold it. Peel this side. I know it's hard, but it's better than having uneven pages. and annoying yourself, because there's no way if you tried to take all the tape off of this and lay it onto that piece, are you going to get an even? No way. Nope, not going to happen. You're going to be frustrated and annoyed. So, okay, so once you do this, right, you got this piece on the one edge completely off, and then you got these all folded downward. Fold them under so that you can get to them easily, and then drop your paper down on that side. Now you can let go, because it is not going to go anywhere, because now all you got to do is pull the rest of the tape off and even it down. It's already on even, so that this side is going to automatically fall even. But since I'm going to add some glue, even though I'm not going to add it very far over because there's already tape on it, but I'm going to add it in the center. I'm going to just put in between here. In between the tape, I'm going to add glue. Okay. And then I'm going to peel off all of this stuff. Just all you got to do is peel it where you folded it back, and then just peel off this edge and you're done. Now, obviously, like I said, you could use just this if your paper's thin enough. But if you have the tape, you might as well do that. It's up to you how you want to do it. If you screw up in any way, it's just a piece of paper. I'm sure you have another piece of paper. It might be easier just to make it cover completely, so that then you don't have to worry about making it even. You can just take, let's say, this is your piece of cardstock. And let's say this is your, this is your scrapbook paper. You don't even have to cut the scrapbook paper. You can just take your score tape and go all the way around, put a bunch of pieces, take it all off, and then just lay it down like this. And then cut around your scrapbook paper here so that it'll cover the entire piece rather than leaving a border. So you could do it that way too. It doesn't matter. So, but we got it. It's nice and even. As you can see, there's a good lip all the way around it. It's all pressed down well. Now we're going to fold it, because we may have folded this piece already, but the piece we put on top is not folded. So we just got to refold it and use the bone folder to score it down again. And there you go. There's your journal cover. Easy peasy. And if you end up folding it and you get like a little bit of overhang from either side, like if it just overhangs a little bit, like this is overhanging ever so slightly, all you gotta do is take your scissors and just make sure you're cutting the bottom page and not the top one that you're trying to even it up to. And just carefully cut along there. And voila. Now, it might cause a problem on the back where you're not gonna have as much of a lip, and you really didn't have to even it up, because once you get the pages in there, it's not going to make a difference, to be honest. But some people are, and you're not going to notice this on the back, because who turns the back over and looks at it? Nobody. So, okay, cover's done. Inside pages are done. All of the stuff that I just showed you to do from part 1, part 2, and now part 3 are very easy to do. Time consuming? Maybe. Especially your first time. Allow yourself the patience to learn. It's very important, because if you're like me, a lot of people who are creative, and this is a fact, a lot of people who are creative have like issues with like patience and ADD. They like instant results. That's a thing about creativity. There's a lot of people that are like that. It's probably like, it's not everybody that's creative has that issue, but a lot of people do. We all like things that are quick and easy. But when it comes to making a journal, especially your first time, maybe your first 2 or 3 times, it is going to take more time than, obviously, if you've done it a few times. All in all, I could have done this cover, folded all these pages and did all that, folded some of them to have pockets, whatever. I could have done all of this and got it stitched in probably 2 to 3 hours or less. But that's because I've been doing this a long time. Actually, I could have probably done this and stitched it in, yeah, less than 2 hours for sure, like an hour and a half. If provided I had my papers already picked out that I wanted to use and all that. If I have to hunt for papers, that takes longer. So it doesn't take long after you know how to do it. And then after that, all you got to do is decorate it. Okay, so now we've got our journal. Pretty much everything is done except for this part. Putting the string somehow in the spine. If you did your homework, you know how to do this already. What we're going to do is we're going to take our book cover. We're going to take our cover and we're going to now make our marks to punch the holes for our pages. And I'm going to again use this paper so you can see. So if it's just it's always, we're always going to use just a 3-hole thing. Anybody that does like 4 holes, 5 holes, it's not necessary. Obviously, you can do that if you like the look of it. Some people like to have several stitched sections in their journals. But if you just do a 3-hole, punch 3 holes in it, no matter how long your journal is, it doesn't matter. It will hold no different if it's in a short journal like this or a 9-foot tall journal. It doesn't matter. The 3 holes will be secure for your pages regardless. It is not going to make any big of a difference at all. In fact, provided that your pages were all the same size and you didn't have a lot of like really small, like this is fine, but like let's say you had some small strips of paper. As long as your pages weren't super small, like at different sizes, as long as they were all fairly the same size, you only need 2 holes. You could put 2 holes, a little bit towards the center like that. And that's all you'd need to do. And it will hold just as good as a 3-hole stitch. I'm telling you, it doesn't matter. It's not going to make a difference. So, but what we're going to do is a 3-hole stitch because that's the most popular. So you're going to take a ruler or anything else that's even. It doesn't even have to be a ruler. It could be something that's approximately 1 inch in length. You could take a pen cap. Okay? A pen cap is slightly over 1 inch, but that's fine. You could take a pen cap, it doesn't have to be a ruler, and you can measure in on that pen cap. It just needs to be something consistent, and you can measure in and put a mark. It doesn't matter, as long as it's something that's even so that you could do the same thing on both sides. But I'm going to use a ruler, and I'm going to measure 1 inch from the bottom at the fold of the journal or the spine. And I'm just going to mark a dot, making it big enough so you can see. 1 inch in on that side and 1 inch in on this side. Now, to get the middle hole, you can literally eyeball it. It isn't really going to matter. But if you want to get crazy about it, you can measure in between and come up with an approximate, measurement, like the nearest thing. Doesn't have to be perfect. Like this is basically 4.5 inches in here. Because the whole journal in itself is about 6.5 inches. And this section is about 4.5 inches. It's not perfect, but that's fine. So 4.5 inches cut in half would be 2.25 inches, because you would cut 4 inches in half would be 2, and then cut a 1/2 inch in half, and it would be 1/4. So 2.25. You can also use one of these type of rulers, which is the Tim Holtz ruler, which has a 0 on one side. It has a regular 1 through 12 kind of ruler like this one, but on the other side it has this has a 0 in the center. And what you do with that is you would put the 0 on your journal, and this unfortunately is not going to show very well because I'm black on black, and you would line up the 2 white marks evenly spaced, because it goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you would try to space it out so that it would be even. In other words, let's see if I could do this, because I can't even see the damn numbers on this thing now. So it's really hard to see with this ruler because it is black on black. The writing is black. So you just keep moving it until you get this, the even on the same here, like same. And what I've got it at here, which looks even, which I just screwed up, is it's even. The white dots are in the same position on either side of the 0 is what you're going to do. So make sure that the ruler where it says 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is even on either side. And that looks like it. So I'm going to mark it here. Or just eyeball it. I mean, honestly, 99.9% of my journals are eyeballed. And you guys see the journals I make. Just eyeball it. Especially if it's one signature. Just eyeball it. Don't get anal. You can eyeball the inch in. You don't have to do this with a ruler. You can just mark it where it looks like it's about right, where it looks like it's about right, and where it'll be fine. I promise you it's not going to make a difference in the long run. It really doesn't. Don't overcomplicate it. I'm just trying to give you options, but you don't have to do it that way. Okay. Once you have your 3 holes, you have to keep in mind that if you're using a wide eye needle, like a yarn needle or some sort of needle that has a wide eye on it, or if you're using the needle that we made with a paper clip, this hole here has to fit through the hole, unless you're using a stiff cord to bind your journal. If you're just going to use jute like I am, you're just going to make sure you punch a big enough hole. Now, yes, it's helpful to have a punch that you can use, but the problem is most people won't have the big mouth crocodile punch I have that'll reach into the center. Most of us at best have a crocodile like this, which will only reach to that inch. Might not even reach to that. No, this doesn't even reach into that inch. I don't think. It will on the small side, I think. Yeah, not even. But you should be able to, with this, which is a regular standard punch, which is fun. No, you can't even do that with that. So, okay. Then that leaves us to this. This is an awl, A-W-L, but said like A-L-L, awl. It's not all, it's an awl, like A-L-L. You're just going to poke it in, and then it tapers up to the top, so it gets thicker. And in this instance, you're going to poke it in and get it so that this needle can poke through. And it's very easy. If it's just a thin one piece of paper and it's not thick, you should be able to just hold it so that you're not going to poke your finger. Just hold it at the edge and literally just poke it through. That easy. If you do not have an awl, find something that has a sharper point that you can poke in without making a mess of the paper. So you might have a thin kind of like one of these type of things here. You might have one that's thinner, or maybe your mom has like, you know, a knitting needle. You could probably use a pair of thin scissors. If you've got fussy cutting scissors, or if you've got these kind of scissors, these little tiny scissors, takes a little more pressure, but let's try one. Carefully, one thing. There we go. One of the sides, as long as you don't poke it accidentally through with the other side. Okay? You can use that. Or if you have an X-Acto knife, you can make a little square cutout with an X-Acto knife, which is, you know, just taking, I need my glasses, just taking your X-Acto knife and literally making a tiny little square. It doesn't have to be a round hole because it ain't gonna matter. And making a tiny little square that's like the size of a confetti piece and just cutting it out. And then taking the blade and lifting that piece out and just taking it and removing it. This is probably actually the easiest way if you're using a piece of like this cardstocky type of thing. If you're using chipboard, you could still do it, but it might be a pain in the butt. Okay, so we've got holes, but the problem is they're not big enough for this. This is where you may want to invest in a needle that actually has a wide hole, but it's more elongated. Let me see if I can show you one. You can get them on Amazon. You can get them at Walmart. They're not expensive. So next time you're at Walmart, get yourself one of these needles. That one's not quite wide enough. Or you can order like a doll needle. Like, see this one? Whoops. See how the hole is big? Now this one has a big hole, but look how much wider this hole is, which is why your hole in your journal cover is going to have to be wider. But if you have a needle like this, it'll go through pretty fairly easily, like right through. Even the one that you just poked ever so slightly, it will go through. Whereas this one, whoops, let's get it to go. It'll go through, but you're going to have to rip it through this page, this part, because I'm pulling on it. It's not going through, obviously, because it's got and it's hard to get it to be narrow when you're using a paper clip. However, if you have a piece of wire that's thinner, you can do it. And then wire, because wire is thinner, and some paper clips you could do this with too, like the thinner ones. Before you even make the little eye on your paper clip, which I wish I had a paper clip sitting here that was thinner, but unfortunately I freaking don't, because I'm never prepared, you know, because that's how I is. Let me see if I can find a damn paper clip. Like, I find it hard to believe with as many paper clips as I have that I can't find one. But let me go look on my desk. Hold that thought. 1 second. Here we go. Yeah, this will work. Okay. So this is a coated paper clip. It might be thick as well. You're better off with the thinnest, smallest paper clips that you have. You know, like a normal paper clip. This one is one of those gold paper clips, and they're like really thick and they're hard to bend. But if you don't have a piece of wire, you probably have a paper clip. So just open it up and take this piece and take a pair of wire snippers that either you have, you know, somebody has in your household, I'm sure, and just cut a length that's like 2 or 3 inches. Yeah, here's 3 inches. You don't even need that much probably. And then if you have a pair of like pliers of some sort, something like this, any kind of pliers, what you would do is take it and bend over your thing like you're making a fish hook almost, right? Like that. You might even need a little bit more than that. Let me straighten that back out and see if I can make that a little better. Or actually, let me try it this way. It'll be a little easier because this is still very thick, which is hard. Like I said, a thinner paper clip will work best for this particular trick. but I don't have a thinner paper clip. I had one, but I think I threw it out because I didn't think I'd need it. So anyway, just take it about, you know, a 1/2 inch. What is this? Yeah, about a 1/2 inch, and fold it down at about the 1/2 inch mark and kind of pinch it a bit. See how it's much more narrower? But still, like I said, thinner paper clip better. Then when you cut your string, you would hook it in like that and then hold on to it here, like hook it in, like, you know, just hook the string, grab it, take this, take your pliers and clamp it down onto the string so that it flattens out your paper clip. It's going to be a pain in the butt to do if you're holding it, but you should be able to at least clamp it down there. Now you don't want it to overlap. You don't want this little piece to cross over. You want it to be parallel with the other one, and then just clamp it as best you can, as far as you can. So there we go. Now look how much narrower it is. But now my string is, well, you can still get your string in there, I'm sure. But if you're using a thinner wire, it's easier to put your string in there first because it'll likely clamp down tighter and it's going to clamp your string in there and you won't be able to get your string in afterwards. So you do it beforehand. So that will fit through most of the holes a little better, see, than one with a bigger eye on it. And if your hole is small to begin with, you can pretty much get this through and it'll actually help widen your hole. Okay, your hole doesn't have to be perfect. It's going to be covered by string anyway. So you can pretty much get this in and make your hole wider by pushing it in and kind of like getting it in there, and then your holes will be the right size. Okay. Now, once you have your holes, whether you use an awl, because see, an awl you could poke down and kind of like twist it and make it to the right. See how much bigger that one got? Just be careful you don't make it so big that it's like ridiculous. Obviously you don't want to push it all, just push it halfway at best. Where'd my paper go? Because see how much bigger that hole is over here compared to these? But I'm going to make all these. And all, again, you can get this at the hardware store. You can order it on Amazon for probably $2 or $3. All you need is a simple small awl. You don't need a big one, just a small one. See, now I have my big holes, just perfect. That's what I need, about that size. Don't worry about what it looks like here. Don't worry about the fact that it's sticking up. If you're that worried about it, take your awl and poke them back through the inside and just kind of like flatten the paper back out that's sticking up, and then put the awl in and just kind of poke it all in so that it sticks up on the inside, which either way, you're really not going to see any of that because of the string. The string is going to cover all that up. And yes, you can take eyelets and put eyelets in, but I'm not showing you any of that because I don't even do that all the time. I do it sometimes. And for a one signature journal, you definitely don't need eyelets. It's really not necessary. You wouldn't want to put eyelets on a corner like that anyway, because when you go to fold it, it's going to cause a problem. So for a one signature journal, you wouldn't do that. Unless you have some sort of spine. You need some sort of spine to put eyelets in. Eyelets are those little metal things. Like here, I'll show you. Like on this journal. Oh, I didn't put them on this journal. But they're those little metal rivety things that make it look a little more fancy. But like I said, on a folded one signature journal, you would not. Like just fold it in half, one signature journal, you would not put eyelets. You have to have some sort of spine, like I did on that journal. I thought I put eyelets in that one, but I guess I didn't. But again, you don't even notice it. These are like, you know, this is poked exactly the same way. You don't really pay attention to how the hole looks once the strings are in and everything. That's the last thing anybody ever pays attention to. So don't worry about it. Stressing about it is useless. Okay. So now A little bit harder of a task is poking the holes through all of this paper that you have here. You may have to do it in steps if you don't have the Crocodile Big Bite, which is, let me get it. Hold on. Let me grab it so you can see. What is it? Okay. What did I do with it? Huh. Whatever did I do with it? It's kind of weird. I have it right here. No? Hold on a second. I'm trying to find my Big Bite so I can show you it in case you don't know what it is. But I'm sure most of you have seen me use it. I'm just not sure where it disappeared to at the moment. Crap. It figures. I have a clue. I don't know why that's disappeared. Anyway, it's just, you guys, I'm sure you have seen it. You can look it up online. It's called a Big Bite. Crocodile Big Bite. Anyway, all it is, it's exactly like the crocodile that, like this, except it's in a different form. It's kind of like a long reach stapler, but it's not a stapler. It's a long reach hole punch and eyelet setter, because that's what this does. It punches holes and then sets eyelets in here. But it can't reach to the very center. So what I'm going to do is use my awl to do this part. But first, before we do that, since we got our holes punched, okay, now what we're going to do is make sure you have your cover the right way around that you want it to be when you do this next part. And you make sure that, like, so you wouldn't want your cover to be like this if you wanted it, this part to show. I want that part to show. And then on top of it, you need to make sure that your signature is the right way up. So you got to check it, make sure all your paper, if you have paper that, you know, is supposed to be a certain way, you're going to check on it and make sure that everything is the way it's supposed to be, so that you don't put anything in backwards or upside down or crooked. I thought I had at least a bottom pocket here somewhere. Maybe not. I don't know. That would be the only thing that would cause me to... There it is. See? I have a bottom pocket. That's what I was looking for. That means this is the right way up. But let me just double check all my papers to make sure that nothing is backwards. And that's a good idea for you to do, despite, no matter how you think perfect you think you have it, double check everything. Make sure all your, if you have bottom pockets that are folded up papers, make sure you have them all on the bottom. Make sure you have any kind of paper, like this is music paper, music sheet paper. Obviously this has a right way and a wrong way to go. And this is the right way. Make sure all your papers like that are the right way. If it's a pattern, it doesn't matter. If it has any writing on it, like these have writing in the dots, make sure they're right way up. Because believe me, I make the mistake almost in every journal that at least I have one page that's upside down. This page could be turned around. I could take this one and just flip it like this, right? Yeah. I'm trying to figure it out. Flip it like that. And so that back side looks a little more straight, but I don't think it matters that much because obviously then you see the other side. Doesn't matter. That kind of pattern I don't think matters. But everything else I'm just double checking, because you'll save yourself a lot of headaches and aggravation if you double check it now rather than finding out when you go to decorate it that you effed up badly and have to re-sew the entire journal and fix everything. Don't give yourself extra work. Double check what you're doing before you do it. Okay, so now you got your cover right side up, you got your signatures right side up. What you're going to do is turn it this way. Make sure you've got your cover, your inside pages, your signature, as it's called, sitting in your journal as evenly as possible. It's easier to do it that way than doing it this way. It's easier to see either side. So if you have a tiny little lip on either side, you're going to make sure that's even. And you're going to make sure that you can see your 3 dots so that you can use those 3 dots on your cover to mark the spine of your signature, and you're going to use like a Sharpie or something that's going to show up on whatever your first page is here. So basically, I've got all my pages where I want them to be. And so what I'm going to do is, I would usually keep it laid down, but for your sake to see, I'm just going to color that edge right there in aligned with the hole. So for each hole, I'm trying to keep that even. You would not lift it up. You would keep it here and just mark the edge of the signature. But you're going to mark right where the hole is. It's so hard to see. I should not have used a black freaking paper. Where the hole is, you're going to then mark on the side like that. It doesn't matter if it shows a little bit here. It doesn't matter. Okay, so that it lines up evenly with your hole. See? Same thing here. I'm going to mark the edge. Just put a few marks so it's dark enough to see. So now all your edges match, right? How did I have this? Like this? Yeah. So once you have them marked, the next thing you're going to do, as soon as I find the cap to the marker, did a monster come by and steal it? There it is. I was going to say, what happened? Now that you have everything marked, you have two choices in how to do this. It's just to keep your sanity. If your cover has some sort of design on it that distinguishes the back from the front, you don't have to do this. But if it doesn't, what you're going to do is either one of two things. If you have a pencil, you can just mark something on it that you can erase later. And I usually put T for top. And as long as you can erase it safely later, then that's what you could do. And then I can mark the first signature, or the signature that's in there, not the first ones. This is the only one. So you're going to do that to the cover, and then you're going to do that to your signature. Now, if your paper is really dark, I can see my T, but you might not be able to see it on camera. Take a piece of washi tape and put it there. Take a piece of washi tape, put it there. You can even, like, to make sure that the washi tape is not too sticky where it's going to ruin your cover, put it on your clothes and de-stick it a little bit. All you need is a tiny little piece just to keep your mind reminded that this is the way it's supposed to go. Because it might, if you happen to set it aside for any reason or whatever, if you're going to, if you decide that in the future that you're going to want to get your cover all ready, but then go back and sew, like if you're one of those that likes to sew, stitching into your journal pages before you sew it in. If you do that, when you go to put everything back, you know that the T and the T should be at the top, T for top. So that's a reason, that's a good way and a good habit to get yourself into. But you don't have to worry about anything else with that, because now we're going to punch our holes. So of course we have to move the cover away from the signature. So once we put it back, we know that this is the top without having to go through and look at every page. And this is the top. That's why I do that. So now it's time to poke our holes. Now my signature's on the thicker side. There are lots of ways to do this. If you have an old phone book, you can open the phone book up to the very middle, or a dictionary or some large book that you don't care about. Open it up to the very middle so that you have pages on this side and pages on this side. That's why I said it had to be a big book, a heavy book. You could put your signature in the middle of it, like it's in the middle of the book, and you can poke your holes. Now, the issue I have is because we poked the hole back here, you can't really do that unless you take your signature and on the middle paper, you just do the same thing you did on the outside. Even it and poke your holes. So you would even up your page in the center, not poke your holes, but mark your holes right on the little, I'm trying to find the crease. Make sure it's even. The cover, if it's sticking off a little bit, make sure it's just sticking off on both sides evenly. Put my damn glasses on so I can see what the hell I'm doing. Okay, so there's the center page. So the fold on the center page, that's where I'm trying to even it up to, but it's so hard to see. And you're going to mark, mark, mark. Okay, and then you can put it back on this side. Just make sure you tap it in. Make sure everything's tapped in nice. So now, if you have a crocodile, the long reach, big bite crocodile, you can do this, and we're going to clamp our things, and then you can flip it over and poke your holes that way. If you're going to do it with an awl in a book, you're going to do it, you're going to take that cover piece off, or you're not even going to put it on the cover piece, and you're going to take this, and you're going to mark, just like we marked on the inside using this method, you're just going to switch it around. And the middle page is all you have to worry about. It doesn't matter about the other pages. Just even it with the middle page. Even if the middle page is a little smaller and it's hanging off the edge, just make sure it's eyeball it so it's hanging off the edge evenly. So that when you line it up with this, when you line up to make your marks, just eyeball it evenly and mark your holes on the inside. So it just depends on how you're going to do it. Then you need a couple of clips, and you can use binder clips, you know, big ones, small ones, whatever. I just have these. Doesn't have to be that big. And you're going to even up your pages, right? You're going to make sure they're all even. And when you open the pages, don't just willy-nilly open them, because what's going to happen is if you willy-nilly open them and flatten them out, I want to show you what happens. You can see where the fold is. Do you notice how it's going on a slant? Like the fold is on a slant. So if you go to poke it like this, it's going to poke through the center of this hole, but it's going to come out all the way over here about a ½ inch off the center of this. That's a no-no. We don't want that. We want it to be even in the center. So what you want to do is get all your pages in, get them all locked in, open it like this, right? And then if you take your fingers and, let's try that again, or just open it evenly by taking it, opening it to the center, putting your thumbs in so it's still fairly folded, and then kind of slowly kind of shape it outward with your fingers until it becomes flat. And just take a look at the spine and make sure that it's opened evenly. And you could tell it's easier in person than you can on camera, whether it's kind of lining up. Because you want to clamp it, obviously if you're doing it in a book, like I said, if you're putting it in the middle of a dictionary, you're going to want it to stay a little folded. But if you're going to do it the other way, like I'm going to show you, you're going to want to flatten it out and just make sure it stays even, because as it does when we evened up the signatures, the pages kind of fan out as you undo it, right? You see that? Because these pages on the inside are smaller than the ones on the outside. So you want it to be fanned out like this, so that will mean that it's more even. And you want to just check your spine on either side for any kind of shifting so that you have evenness when you poke your holes. And like, it can be a royal pain in the butt to do it, to make sure it's perfect. So you just got to give it, just play with it a minute. That's what he said. Play with it a second, and yeah, just get your holes evened out. And once you got them even, take your clips, put one on this side, put one on this side without shifting it around too much to hold it in, so that when you poke your holes, hopefully they will go straight through into the right section. Now I noticed that one of my holes is Where'd my damn pencil go? There it is. It's not quite where it needs. No, not that one. That one was fine. It's this one. This one's slightly off kilter here. There we go. Okay. And that eraser sucks. I shouldn't have used it. I need this kind of eraser so not to. White erasers work best. Don't ever use these kind. They suck. They make a mess. Okay. So. There I have that. Now. What you also are going to need is either an old catalog. If you have an old catalog laying around, like something thick, magazine catalog, put it underneath of your journal. Or if you have an old piece of wood like this, any kind of wood, you could put that underneath of it. Catalog, piece of wood, anything to protect your work surface, because you're going to poke a hole now through this. And you're going to probably poke it into the other side. So that's how you're going to poke your holes, is now you're going to work it. So you're going to put your weight into it. So if you have to stand up, you stand up. But you're going to put your weight into it and you're going to crank it back and forth while holding on to the journal until you get through. And now I'm through. You see what I'm saying? I'm in the wood. There's one. And it doesn't take that long. I was actually pushing through the wood longer than I was the paper. See? And you don't need to make a big hole yet. So just worry about getting through the paper in the spot you need to get it in. But standing up is probably the easiest way to do it. Okay, so once you've got 3 holes that have made contact to the outside, hopefully where you're pretty much, see, they're pretty much where the dots are on the outside. Pretty good, not bad. It's perfectly fine. Now, you put it back through, leave it clamped on either side, and work it. You're going to work it. Use your muscle and push your awl through so that that hole is now getting wider, just like on your cover, so that you can fit your needle in. So look, that nice hole. Perfect. Okay? So you do that to all 3. This is probably the hardest part of the whole journal making process. It's really not that hard either. I'm just taking it very slow with you and very step by step as much as humanly possible, so not to have anybody like freak out and be confused or, you know, not know what to do. Okay, 3 holes, all done. Do not take your clips off. Leave your clips on until we're done with the rest. So don't make the mistake of taking your clips off prematurely, because then it'll make your paper shift around while you're trying to stitch it. And believe me, you can do it, but it'll take you a hell of a lot longer. So, okay, got your clamps on, your holes are done. Now all that's left to do is stitch it. Now, if it wasn't for the fact that I was going very slow and taking it very slow and so step by step and detailed, I would have had this done 45 minutes ago. Honestly, it wouldn't have taken me more than about 10-15 minutes to do this part at all. Like, so easily. I could, you know, and you too we'll see it'll go quicker. And then as you do it a few times, you'll get even quicker, and it won't take you that long, especially one signature. All right, now all that's left to do is stitch it. And remember, let's make sure that we have T for top here and T for top here before we lay it together. And that's all you're going to do is lay them together the right way up. Now, whether your needle is already on your string or not, what you're going to do is you're going to make your string length 3 times the length of your journal here. Not this way, but obviously where your holes are. So it means you're going to go 1, you're going to grab it, you're going to put your hand here, 2, grab it, put your hand here and your hand here, 3. Doesn't have to be perfect. It can be a little bigger, it could be a little smaller. Believe me, you'll have plenty of string left over, even if you did 2.5 the length. And then just cut your string, and that's all you need to bind this. And now, if you did your homework, you know how to do the next steps. You already know. Instead of 3 pages, though, we just have a bunch more pages, but they're all clamped together like one big page. So, just like I showed you in the second part, you're going to start in the middle. Now, if you want your stitch at the end, if you want your tied part to be in the center, then you start in the center of your book. You always start in the center hole, but if you want it to be tied in the middle of your book, then you start in the middle of your book in the inside. If you want your string to be tied out here and be visible, your knot to be visible on the outside, which some people do for whatever reason, you would start in the center on the outside. It's very simple. You want it tied on the outside, start on the outside. Tied on the inside, start on the inside. Very simple. So now, you start with the center hole always. Now, don't forget, this is clamped together, but this is loose. So just kind of lift it up and start with, don't try to do it all through your cover because it's easier to do it this way. So now you may have to wiggle your needle in because don't forget, it may not be exactly the size. All right, once you get it in through the signature, then you're going to put it in through your cover and work it through that one. And then line them back up again. So now it goes through the 2 like that. Pull it all the way out until the edge of this tail is equal to about the outside of your whole book. Okay, so you're just going to hold it there and pull it tight. And you can make it a little bit bigger if you want to. Just enough to tie it, because that's the next thing, the last thing you're going to do is use this to tie the other end. And then stick it under your clamp or take some washi tape and put it down. And then you can pull it tight. Obviously, if you pull it really tight, which you're not going to do anyway, you're going to rip it out, whether it's washi tape or not. So now you're going to, now it doesn't matter how you hold your journal because it's already together. It doesn't matter whether you do it this way. It doesn't matter whether you do it this way because it's all together anyway. You're done. You can just move it however you need to move it when it's done. It doesn't matter if the T is on top now because that was only to keep the cover and the signature at the same level. But now they're together. You've got your first string in. Now you're going to choose. It doesn't matter which hole you put it in next. Does not matter. Doesn't matter. Obviously, you're going to do it from the back side. You're not going to wrap it around, do it from the top side. But it doesn't matter. Equally, it will do the same thing whether you put it in this one or put it in this one. So I'm just going to put it through the top one. I'm going to put it through the signature. And you might have to stand it up. Sometimes it's easier to stand it up and look to see that you put it through the signature and then, through the cover and then through the signature. And work it. You might have to, this stupid sweater. Let me move my sleeves because they're getting caught on every damn thing because this sweater is the most annoying sweater on the planet Earth. Anyway, I'm going to work it through my cover first just to be able to work it through this signature because I might have to take my awl through the back again and kind of, yeah, sometimes you need to kind of reinforce your hole. There we go. So there it is. Now I'm going to work it through to the center again. Come on, dude. This is why having a needle is easier. However, if you don't have a needle, a wire will do. It's just going to be a little bit more of a pain. You might need a pair of pliers to pull it through your center. If it's a needle, you generally won't need to do that. But if it's a wire, you might. I may have to switch to the needle because this is not going through because my wire is unbending. So I'm going to switch to my needle. I advise you to get a needle. Invest in a stupid $5 tool because between $5 you could get a needle and an awl. I'm telling you, invest in that. If nothing else, get yourself a nice wide, they're called like doll needles or something. I don't know. It's so much easier than trying to fuss with it otherwise. Okay, so now, and then you won't like do that to your paper either, which is okay because it's going to not show anyway. It's not going to show. It's going to be through the cover. Okay, so now we went through the middle hole. Now we're just going to make sure it's pulled tight here. Check the back. Make sure it's pulled tight here. So, okay. So there it is. You put paper in the middle. I mean, the string through the middle to the outside. And then took it from the outside and put it through one of the holes. Doesn't matter which one. It'll still do the same thing regardless. You have to do the same steps. Because there's only 3 holes. There's only so far you can go with this string. And trust me, it doesn't take as long as I'm making it seem. It's very quick. It's just that I'm trying to be slow so that you see what I'm doing. So I don't have anybody saying, but I don't understand. But I don't understand. There's no way to not understand. So once you got it through that hole, now you're going to skip this hole. And you're going to go to the bottom hole. So if you did it the other way and you didn't do it through this hole and you did it through this hole, you would just do the same thing. You would just skip this hole and go to that hole. Doesn't matter, all the same. So now you're just going to go through here and just, you can peek underneath and check that it's going through the right way on your cover. Pull it out, make sure it's taut here, but not so tight that it's pulling your string out. And, you know, taut here, taut meaning, you know, tight, but not pulled so really tight. And now, the last thing to do, and it will make sense to you, because where would this needle have to go to make a stitch from here to here? Because you got a stitch from here to here. Now, where would the needle have to go? It would have to go back through the middle, right? So that's what you're going to do. You're going to put it back through the middle, but you're just going to be careful not to put it through this string, because you could easily poke it through the middle. Get out of my way, jackass. Poke it through the middle of your string and split your string like that. And that is not, you don't want that. So what you do is you just kind of poke it over to the side a little bit and just double check when you get it through that it's not going through your string. Like right here, I can see it's smoothly through the cover. It's not going through the string. And then I'm going to poke it through the, there we go. And it's not through the string. It's going in and out. That did not look good. Okay, the last thing you got to do is just now, as you can see, this piece of string is on the left side of the middle piece that's going from here to here. And this piece with the needle is coming through on the left side as well. But what we want to do is have the needle coming through on the right side so that you have one string coming from this side of the middle string and another string coming from this side, so that when we tie it in the middle, the center of the string is like tied into the middle of the string. Basically, all you're going to do is pull the needle out slightly, lift up your string over the needle so that one string is coming out this side and one string is coming out this side with this in the middle. And then just make sure, again, you look and make sure there's no loose string. You don't have to pull it super tight, but then you take your string out from your clamp. You take your string out from your needle. See how much string you have left? But it's easier to have more than it is to have less. And then you're just going to tie it like you would tie your shoes. Tie it once, and then tie it again. And then you can tie it a third time if it makes you happy. But that's all you need to do. You only need 2. Now, if you have a crappy string that doesn't hold a good knot, you might have to put some glue or glossy accents on your knot. Then you're going to leave a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch of string, like so. Or you can leave it longer and use it as like a bookmark. You can do all kinds of things with that. But for right now, that's all we're going to do. It was very easy. I mean, that's it. 3 holes, in and in, in out, in out. And I could show you again on a scrap piece of paper faster so that it's not such a pain in the butt. I'll show you the stitch again. So I'm going to put my hole, put 3 holes. I'm just eyeballing it, pretending these are the 3 holes. Again, we want 3 times the length of the string. 1, 2, 3. Take your needle. Give me the damn string. Needle your string. Thread your needle with the string. If you're doing it, here's the inside of the journal. Let's pretend that's the outside cover. Go in. We're going to go through the bottom this time. Obviously, you would clamp that, but I'm not for the sake of this. Go through the bottom, like so. Go through the top, like so. And go back through the middle. That's how fast it is. And then put your middle string over top of it so that you have the string on either side. And voila, it's done. It's very quick. It doesn't take much. Obviously, I don't need to do that right now, but you catch my drift? It doesn't take much. Once you know the stitch, it's literally takes seconds. Okay, now the journal has been complete. This is the journal. Now it's not embellished, but as far as being a journal, it is now a journal, so it is now considered a journal. I'm going to erase my T's from the page, and you're done. You're done. You did it. Congratulations, you've made your first journal. Decorating does not a journal make. Getting the papers all done and sewing them in makes the journal. The decorating is an afterthought. This is your journal right here. Okay? Decorating is not the essential part. It's putting the pages together. That's the essential part. Because some people make journals like this and don't decorate them. And they use them for whatever as they go. But they don't go in and embellish it. I mean, they might put something a little on the cover, but they don't embellish any pages. You know, because some people do it as like an art project where they embellishing the pages, they do like one at a time as an art project kind of. And that's how they do. You know, because they'll like treat it kind of like a scrapbook where, oh, I have a cool picture today. And they'll put it in and they'll write something or put like a sentiment and they'll, you know, whatever. And then the next time they have a cool picture, they'll move to the next page. And they might, you know, make the pocket by gluing this edge and then tucking other pictures in. See what I'm saying? So some people don't decorate them all at once like that. So anyway, that's your journal. And it's done. But the next video, we're going to do some decorating. I'm going to show you some basic decorating techniques. And then I'm going to show you how to do two or more signatures in a journal. That'll be this is the third video. The fourth video is going to be showing you some basic decorating. The fifth video, I'm going to show you how to make a 2-signature journal. So, but a 1-signature journal is perfect. And then if you want, I'll show you how to do like a string closure and everything. But for now, this is what we got. It took an hour and 17 minutes, but that's on very, very slow mode. You could do this in less, you know, obviously the stitching part, that's all we really did was poking the holes and the stitching. And it may seem like it took a long time, but that's only because I was going really slow and doing everything very detailed. All right, so I have in here the people that entered by doing the homework that I gave. So they're going to win this journal. And when they get it, it will have a few pages decorated in it, but that's it. And I might, you know, do something with the cover, but the rest of it is going to be on them to decorate how they want to. I'm only going to do a few pages as example, and then it'll be given to the person that wins it. And then after I do this drawing, I'm going to tell you how you can win something else. All right, I'm going to pick a winner. Get out of my way. Teresa Poirier. Teresa, you win this journal. It is yours once I am finished. After the next video, because the next video I'm going to show you how to do some basic stuff in this. So it might be a few weeks. I'm hoping next week I'll be able to send it out to you. But this is yours, Teresa. You won this. If you want to win a journal kit, which will consist of your own piece of vinyl to do your cover with. It won't be a paper cover, but you'll do everything exactly the same as if it was a paper cover. If you want to win, it'll have a vinyl piece for your cover, and it'll have a bunch of different papers and then some embellishment type stuff, a few embellishment things to get you started, maybe some graphics, maybe some lace or whatever. It'll be probably like a vintage journal kit. It'll be like a mini vintage journal kit. You'll have paper, You'll have some scrapbook paper and other paper. And of course you can add more to it if you want to, but it'll be enough for a 1 signature journal. You'll have your string. You won't have a needle or anything. That you'll have to do yourself, but you'll have all your stuff to kind of fill it and whatever. So if you want to win that, all you have to do is leave a comment below and share the video. Make sure you like it, share it, and leave a comment below. And when you leave a comment, let me know if you've ever, if you've ever made a journal before. And if you have, how many have you made approximately, or how long have you been making journals? And if you've never made a journal, let me know if you plan on doing it after this video now. So, and then you'll be in a giveaway, which I'll do for the next video. I'll draw that for the next video. So between now and whenever my next video comes out, you have to enter, like the day before, I'll probably go through and get all the names to put them in the cup to draw them. But please like this video and share it on your Facebook, Twitter, something or other, and leave a comment. And make sure when you leave your comment that you leave an email address. Because if you don't leave an email address, and please don't leave it as a separate comment, either one of two things. If you forget to put your email address with your comment, then reply to your own comment. Hit reply underneath your comment. Don't leave a whole separate comment with your email, because I may not find it. It just, it just might be a pain in the butt. So make sure. You can also edit your comments by clicking on the little down looking arrow thing. I think it looks something like this or like that, something like that. Next to your comment, you'll see it to the right. If you click on it, it'll put a drop down menu and you can edit. Just click edit and you can re-edit your whole comment and put your email address in. So many times people put their email address in all over the place and I don't know which is which and I get confused and it just takes me that much longer to get everybody's name. So either reply to your own comment so that it's with your comment, or edit your comment. But don't just make a new comment with your email address if you forget to put it in initially. But that's it. So good luck to everybody who enters. And yeah, I'll see you for part 4. And part 4, I will show you how to decorate some basic things that you can do to decorate the journal, since a lot of people have issues with that. So hopefully that'll show you. I have to use alcohol, which I have right here to clean that off. So I will see you in the next video. Other than that, I'm having an auction on the 10th, I think it is. It's a Sunday. Not this Sunday, but the following Sunday. Which is... nope. Yep, the 10th. So on March 10th at probably 5 p.m.-ish, I'll be putting the event up soon. Make sure if you click the bell icon next to the subscribe button, there's a little bell, yellow bell, click it so that it has brackets around it. So if this is the bell, when it has the little brackets like that, the 2 little brackets, then you've clicked it successfully. If you click it, you'll get the notifications of when I go live and stuff like that. And you won't, and like when I make a video, so you won't miss if you won something or not in the next video. So make sure you have those little brackets. Just click the bell until you see those brackets, usually just once. If you already have brackets, that means you've already clicked it. So anyway, and I think you can choose whether you get all the messages or some. Just click all because it'll be easier. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Please let me know if you make a 1 signature journal, or any journal for that matter. I'd love it if you posted it in the group. The group link is below this video. You will see it. If you hit show more in the description, it'll open up the whole description. There's links to my Patreon, my store, my group, everything. And if you join our group, and you can share art with other people and meet lots of fun people in our group, which is awesome. So yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Make sure you do what you love and love what you do and be nice to people. Have a good day. Bye. Poodle Pack out.